Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. Welcome to our webinar for National Inclusion Week. I'm Michael Halpin. I'm the head of marketing here at RecycleMe, and I'll be your host for this session. Sherry, are you able to introduce yourself, please, for everyone listening today?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Sherry Hughes, Global Inclusive Culture and Social Impact Director for PageGroup. We are a global recruitment company, as to be better known to you by our key brand, Michael Page. Do you want me to go and do a visual description of myself, Michael? And
yeah, please, that would be great. Thank you.
Can I do that? I was thinking about this and I was, gosh, actually, how do I describe myself? So I'm 5'3". I'm a white woman. I'm 49 years old. I've got blue eyes. I don't wear glasses. I am wearing a denim shirt, navy blue denim shirt with a white t-shirt underneath. And I go by the pronoun she, her.
Thank you very much. That's much appreciated. And for everyone at home, myself, I want to say 6 foot, but let's say 5'11". White male, brown hair, brown eyes, wearing a stone-coloured jacket, and my pronouns are he, him. Thank you very much. So for National Inclusion Week, this year's theme is Now is the Time, and that couldn't be more relevant in the recruitment space. Right now, organisations are facing candidate shortages, rising expectations around inclusion, and at the same time, new legislations in play around our websites and candidate journeys. Considering the research that's out there, 60% more people with disabilities that needed to apply for 60% more jobs than non-disabled people. And we have around 1 in 7 people here in the UK that are neurodiverse. This is a significant share of the talent pool that often goes unsupported if we're not putting the right things in places to help people apply for jobs. So today's conversation is going to be really in-depth. It's going to be impactful and support you throughout your journey in creating a better user experience for people online. How does RecycleMe play its part in here? Just before we get into the conversation with Sherry, RecycleMe is an accessibility software and service provider helping recruitment organizations on their journey towards creating a better inclusive online experience, whether that might be providing additional tools with our assistive toolbar or helping you create a better website that is coded to accessibility standards with our checker. And we are part of your journey and making that reality come to bear and helping people online. So that's shameless plug out the way. Let's get into the meaty conversation that we want to start with. Are you able to give us a quick overview, Sherry, of RecycleMe, of PageGroup and the work you're doing currently at the moment, and how that helps the candidate journey there?
Yeah, so PageGroup is present in 35 countries across the globe. We are a white-collar recruiter, so that is usually anything for sort of middle management level, and we do it across a whole host of different markets. So we do middle management all the way through to C-suite. That's under our Page Executive brand, and we operate in industries such as engineering, procurement. Oh gosh, there's about 25. I'm not going to list them all, but finance is our biggest area, and that's where we started. But yeah, we are a nearly 50-year-old recruitment business across the globe. So certainly, if not the biggest, one of the biggest global recruiters.
Yeah, I'm sure. I know when we've been started working together and initial conversation, I thought, it might be 5 or 6 websites, but no. There's 30, 40 websites across the globe, Australia included. So it is a massive organization for sure, isn't it?
Yeah, and each of our brands then has their own website as well. So if it's Michael Page or if it's Page Executive, and then we have Page.com. I mean, yeah, it's quite a complex.
I know, and then obviously trying to create a process that's inclusive to try and bleed out across all these websites and all these sort of different regions. It's definitely no small task to put into play for sure.
No, we're 7,000 employees globally. So imagine trying to get the same consistent message out to each of those. Probably about 80% of those are recruiters. So yeah, trying to get good understanding, good embedding of practices.
It can be challenging. So when it comes to the sort of the candidate journey, you'll see many of them across all these websites. let's start off from sort of typical barriers just to get it so people can understand what we're talking about today.
I think we've always seen that clients want the perfect candidate. They've always wanted the perfect candidate. And in a climate like we're in at the moment, they're less likely to sway from that as well, because in their heads, a perfect candidate is economically more effective. So they get up to speed quicker, they're having a return on investment quicker. And that's all by someone who knows the job, knows the industry, knows the clients if appropriate, and can just come in and do it. And that has always been the challenge. I mean, my first 11 years at Page, I was in frontline recruitment. And even back then, I should say, I've been at the company 22 years, so I am going back a bit. But you were always trying to go, okay, well, what's the non-negotiable element? What are the actual skills you need? And what's the kind of bits that your mind is telling you need? And trying to kind of always broaden the brief a little bit. But we're in a very tough economical climate at the moment. So that's adding more pressure to expectation of new candidates, of hires, of new employees delivering as quickly as possible.
And when it comes to them barriers, what's the most sort of often you've seen them for specific people? So I don't know if it be dyslexia or other, what barriers do most people encounter when on that kind of journey themselves online?
I think sometimes they don't know they're encountering it. I still think we're in a society where candidates aren't necessarily comfortable to share. There's too much around what will that mean? If I tell somebody I have depression or that I'm dyslexic or that actually I'm deaf, then are people going to jump to assumptions and actually they're causing more problems by saying that rather than what should happen, which is the understanding, the accommodation, the adjustment. And I think you've kind of got yourself two environments there, which is how much are you doing as the prospective employer to create an environment where somebody knows they can share? Because as an employer, all you want is to see the best in that candidate. And if you aren't creating an environment that allows that candidate to perform at their best, then everybody loses. You don't get to see the best of the candidate, and the candidate doesn't get to show you who they really are and what they're capable of. And so you've got to not only create an environment where the candidate feels comfortable, but you've then also got to know what adjustments you might make.
And then adjustments, is that when it comes to kind of experience itself, is that providing choice when, applying for a job or, going through that process of online, not just filling out forms, etc. Is it go beyond of how to actually interact with the website?
It's so many things. If you think about the whole step process of how you interact with the candidate and how they apply for a job and then how they're assessed, at all points in those processes, you need to allow for somebody to do it in an alternative way. So when you say choice, have they got that choice? Can they speak to somebody? Can they email? Can they use, I don't know, can they do a video? I mean, but are there alternative mechanisms for application, for starters? And then actually, what are the processes that an employer might go through to determine who's the right candidate to take to the next stage? And how is that done? Is that done without bias? Is that done objectively? Actually, what's the criteria? And I'm just not sure CVs are the answer. I mean, I just don't think the CV on its own allows for all of these things. It just depends on how well it's been written. And let's be honest, so many CVs are written by AI at the moment anyway.
Yeah, exactly, yes.
So are they really different to one another? So then if you go, okay, well, actually, are we allowing for people who might need more time because they're neurodiverse? Or actually, have we got dictation on this? Or whatever. I just think we're not even opening it wide enough in the first place to give every candidate a shot, let alone all the other steps in the process when it comes to assessment.
Yeah, I suppose different people will be able to show their skills in different ways. And as a recruitment organisation, we need to try and find the right one for the right candidate to put their best self forward for the situation, isn't it?
And I think I don't even think that's like accurately described to people, because if a candidate knew it was in their best interests to share an element of support they might need, if that was clearly explained, actually, if there's anything I can do to help you perform at your best, because then you get to perform at your best and I get to see that. If that bit isn't explained, there's still this natural societal kind of systemic kind of element, which is, well, I daren't share that because it might look negative on me, rather than
negative, not positive.
If I share, then I'm going to get extra time, or I'm going to make sure the interview room is on the ground floor, or that there isn't too much harsh natural lighting, or harsh electric lighting. I mean, some of it's really simple stuff, and yet we don't create an environment where either people want to share or that we're even asking in the first place.
Yeah, you're right, and this comes back down, I suppose, to PageGroup's values and against client demands and doing the right thing. So why is it such a priority then for you guys right now, aligning that that people's needs against what's the right thing to do?
It's been a priority of ours since 2012. So that's when we started everything from an inclusion perspective. And it is nothing more than it's the right thing to do, right?
Yeah, agree.
I wish client demand was higher. Unfortunately, it's not.
No.
And I really wish it was. I would never want that to be the reason we were doing it, because I'm glad we're doing it because it's the right thing to do, first and foremost. And we find that we are educating our clients in many ways, where we might have to go, actually, going back to that non-negotiables from a skills perspective, and somebody who matches that, and kind of going to the client with, actually, can we do X, Y, and Z to ensure this person's got the best opportunity for success? But yeah, clients aren't asking it enough. No. Or they're asking it because they're trying to be seen to be doing the right thing.
Tick a box.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we have clients who say all the right things to start with. This is what we have an expectation in the process. We want to know you're going to be tapping into, all of these talent pools, and we want to make sure that the shortlist is diverse and X, Y, Z. Only for them to actually not follow through in regards to inclusive practices from their side, for them not to consider any adaptations, and ultimately hire the same person that they would have always hired before.
Hired anyways, which is not the right thing to do at all. And with people out there who want to move the needle and want to come on board and do the process properly, what's the real business case for inclusive hiring? I know you and I know it, but to put that on the table, what is that business case for inclusive hiring?
Don't you think doesn't that make you sad that there has to be a business case?
Well, yeah, 100%. I know
we have to. I know, and this is only how we're connecting with businesses in the moment, that they understand they've got a real value. But the business case is, there's talent everywhere, and it's totally undervalued, the skills, particularly if we start to think about people with disabilities or different abilities, should we say. What they can bring to the workplace, you can't buy. Actually, you need somebody who's got a completely different attitude to being resourceful, or you've got somebody's completely different attitude to resilience and how they demonstrate it in their day-to-day. It's this complete misconception that it's harder work, or that they are going to be difficult to manage, or I hate the woman that go, they have more time off sick. I mean, that's just utter nonsense, but we all want great talent. So why wouldn't you look as wide as possible to find that talent?
Yeah, I think within Recite Me, obviously we're an inclusive employer as well. Our founder, Rosalind, was dyslexic, like myself, dyslexic, sorry. And through his challenges created Recite Me. And some people don't like the word superpower, or your dyslexia or your dyspraxia is your superpower, but it does enable you to do things subconsciously beyond what people think is normal. And each different jobs do have the need for different abilities. And setting the recruitment game up correctly or right way to enable someone like myself or Ross or others to show their skills, I think is massively important. Then you're going to tap into the business and grow and help that business. There's loads of statistics out there around, a diverse sort of workforce increases productivity, and then, eventually, or at the bottom line of it, revenue generating as well, because everyone brings different ideas to the table, to to help that business move forward. But we need to get that great talent in first to be able to make that a reality.
And I think if we took more time to understand each other's strengths, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because your strength is only a strength if it's harnessed, if it's encouraged, if it's supported, yeah? And that's your superpower. But if it's not, then it's your kryptonite, isn't it? And this is the difference. And I think all too often, rather than recognizing that somebody has an ability to hyper focus or work at a rate which is way more than your average person, why aren't we finding a way to really capitalize on that and support it and enhance it, rather than going, but actually what they bring is they don't interact with the team, or it's they prefer to stay at home so we never see them, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
We're focusing on the wrong thing. And this is where I go back to the skills-based element. Can they do the job? Have they got the skills to do the job? Because truthfully, whether or not they're going to end up being a huge personality and be great fun at the Christmas party or whatever, it's totally irrelevant.
Yeah.
I think what you're paying them to do.
I think a diverse team I see it within my team. I think it's onto the manager or the leadership to understand how to get the best out of people and have that balance between what their strengths are and what maybe not weakness, but if they're not outgoing, that's not the end of the world. As long as they're together as a team, pushing us, driving us forward with that skill set, it's super important. I think it's onto the management to be able to understand how to manage, I suppose, or work the team in the right way where these people feel that they're sort of they're appreciated, but then also they can show their talent in the way that they want to. We all bring different things to the table, and it's up to us to try and harness that together to get the best outcomes.
And even, can I share a story? So
Of
I was
course.
trying to organise a team get together, and my team at the time, we had 2 wheelchair users, 3 neurodiverse, 1 blind, several parents. And we were a national team, so the fact that we had childcare responsibilities and so on. A couple of no drinkers, which if anybody knows recruitment as an industry, we're renowned for being party animals, and this was not what we wanted. We wanted a really great opportunity to all come together. And so one time we did an escape room and then lunch, daytime, lovely. The second time was when the blind chap worked with us, and we did chocolate making and tasting. I'm not joking, it was brilliant, but we had to think about it. Default is, we're going to have dinner and a few drinks, or whatever. Whereas this was like, actually we couldn't do a lot of those things. So it didn't take a lot of effort. It just took a moment for us to chat on a team meeting and go, let's bounce around a few ideas. Right, what can we do? Okay,
relife it.
Yeah, and sure enough, we found something, and it took us an extra 10 minutes rather than just defaulting to what would be a normal, a usual team get together.
And then 9 times out of 10, that out the box or an activity based thing becomes a better platform for everyone sort of relaxing, getting together, getting to know each other. And then when it comes to the week after, everyone's working in harmony are much better than what it was, because they've had a laugh together instead of just a meal and some drinks or wherever it may be, which is unfortunately sometimes the thing, isn't it? Yeah, exactly. Go to, yeah. So when you're focusing on the candidate experience, sharing the focusing on candidate experience has helped PageGroup. How has that attracted more diverse talent then for you guys? Focusing on the candidate experience, how has it then created the impact of attracting more diverse talent?
So firstly, it's about not assuming. We want to make sure that our process is tried and tested, and therefore we know how to take it to clients. So we need to get our ducks in a row first.
Yeah.
So it's back to that. Are we asking candidates how they can perform at their best? right? It's very simple. How can you perform at your best? How can I make sure this environment, accommodates you to perform at your best? And it's making sure you ask that at every stage of the process, because what somebody might not need at an initial, perhaps virtual face-to-face, they might need if they're having to come into an office. So don't assume that just because they didn't need any additional support at this stage that they might not need it later on. So keep asking the question, because then it also goes back to the environment I talked about before, which is the candidate feeling safe for them to share. Actually, I can share here and I will get what I need. And actually, it's the best environment for both of us. So, but it could, it doesn't even need to be about always having adjustments. It might just be about accommodating somebody's life. Have they got caring responsibilities? Is there a time of the day that's good or bad? So it's asking the question. It's making sure we listen.
Mm-hmm.
That's more, I know that should be obvious, but then making the right steps. And what I would say is it's okay not to know the answer. I had a situation, this is some years ago, we had an intern coming to work with us who full-time wheelchair user, and actually had a full-time carer as well, because he was tetraplegic. And the team he was going to join, the line manager phoned me and said, right, Sherry, what do I need to do for when he starts? And I said, well, I've never met him.
Have a conversation with him.
I don't know him at all. I also don't know what he might need. So have you asked him? Oh gosh. And he didn't want to ask because he didn't want to look like he didn't know.
Yeah.
And
that's the other side of the coin, isn't it?
Exactly. So I was like, well, just say to him, look, I don't want to make any assumptions. I want to make sure we're doing right by you. I'm learning as well. So actually, what is it that we can do to make this easier on you? I don't think anybody minds that. I mean, anybody being honest enough to go, I'm doing this for the first time. I want to make this as smooth as I can possibly make it, but I don't know the answers. So, what is there that we need to do here? The second you create that environment, it all comes back to communication. It comes back to the sense of feeling safe and secure, and that you are genuinely seen, heard, and understood. And that's on the employer. That's not on the prospective candidate. That is absolutely on the employer. So, it's being open to that and learning, being respectful and learning and going, right, okay, can we do that? Right. If we can't do that, why can't we do that? And is there a different way around it?
So I think that I was going to ask you about best practices there, but I think that the first best practice is communication, whether it be spoken or written at the start of a process where someone can reach out for help. I think that's sort of the candidate or the organization empowering the user or us as sort of managers or people who hire to be able to ask that question in the right way to enable a conversation to open up, for someone's barriers to come down and to get the best out of them.
Yeah. We also have done some situations where we've made suggestions. So, sometimes people don't know what they need as well. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, this could be as simple as we did this was around people from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. So actually we paid their expenses. It was only when someone said to us, it's like, well, hang on, I've got to come across London for that.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, and actually that was a barrier for them. So, depending on who our partner might be, a charity partner or, third party that we might be accessing talent through, we just try and go, well, what do they need and how can we help? So sometimes it might be about parking advice. It might be about, travel expenses. It might be about, we can be flexible to what platform you want. Are there captions you need? So there's just, it's two-way. It's making some suggestions so that actually they feel confident to us if they know themselves.
That's true. And then one thing we practice here, which works for me, is when it comes to the interview itself, is a task-based interview. Sometimes I don't know how often you'll know better than me if it's the norm, if you like. But I know if I got asked a bunch of questions, or it was an exam type of based scenario, I would be no good. I would probably crumble. But task-based, you're able to, you can relax yourself and put yourself into the shoes of the role and show your best. Is that one of the best practices when it comes to interviews?
skills-based hiring is absolutely becoming the way we should go. So I'm all
Yeah.
for ditching the CV, as I said before.
Yeah.
Ditch the CV. And what are the core skills? So when I was operational for Page, I used to sit in Michael Page sales. Well, there is nobody better at an interview than a salesperson, right?
Yeah.
And it has absolutely its benefits, right? An interview will tell you certain things if you interview in the right way, right questions, a proper scoring matrix, there's consistency, of course. But actually, if the job is got precious little to do with communication skills, what are you really learning? So there was a brilliant guy who I saw at an event, who tech whiz, autistic, right? And he did the most brilliant speech. He was very honest about how uncomfortable he was and this, public speaking. He said, but I need everybody to live this experience with me, which was he'd seen a job for building intranets, or anyway, some sort of tech job. And
Yeah.
it said apply to HR, process will be interview XYZ. And he just read it and thought, oh, I mean, I've failed before I've even started, because me and an interview just do not go. So instead, what he did is he built an intranet for the company, and he found the line manager of the role and just sent it directly to him and said, look, I've seen this job. I know this isn't the process I'm supposed to follow, but I need you to see what I'm capable of. Because I'm autistic, I really struggle with interviews. Anyway, sure enough, of course, he ended up getting the job, because they did have to go still through a process, but instantly everybody understood how they needed to kind of accommodate him. And yeah, it was brilliant. But that's because he instantly demonstrated he could do what the job required. And actually, having an interview, it doesn't matter who the interview's with. It wasn't about it going through HR at all. It's about the fact that the interview is your first determinant. And that's just not always the most effective way of knowing whether or not someone can really do the job.
Yeah, I remember this going back a lot of years, and I went to look at interview for a job at PC World, or Currys as it's called now.
Yeah.
And back in the day, I used to love computers. I would know all the types of the memory cards, the size of screens, the monitors, the frame rates, all. I knew the product, and I could talk to people and things because I was passionate about it. And I thought that would be a great first job, that at PC World. So interview, apply for it, got an interview, and thought, oh, great, I'm going to have a really techy conversation with someone, and they're going to ask us loads of questions about computers. But it wasn't that. Went in the back of PC World, and it was an exam on a computer with English and other things. And while being dyslexic, I wasn't.
Yeah.
Sure enough, I didn't get to the stage two.
Yeah.
So, but it is this sort of stereotypical standard way that back in the day, PC was probably much different now, of course. It's just an example of not having a process fitted to what your product and services are or what the job was. And I'll never forget that, of just sort of how disjointed that was. It's a little example there from a strange interview process I've seen. Recently was much better than that. Task-based interviews for the last 6 years I've been here now. So we make sure, obviously we have sales roles, tech roles, lots of different wonderful people, but we all need a different experience to show our skills.
Yeah. I mean, we don't call them role plays anymore, but when people come to work for us as a recruiter, we do these client-based scenarios that we now call them. The word role play makes people come out in hives generally.
Yeah.
But the point is, it's not about you doing a brilliant client-based scenario. It's about you doing one. It's about you getting the feedback, and then it's about how you apply what we tell you. So we normally do a couple. And because that's what you've got to do in the job, that's what you've got to do. You've got to be able to communicate with the clients and your candidates, obviously. It's not just about whether you're high energy in an interview. It's about how you tackle certain situations and so on. So I think the more we can bring these in, and it's change for people. I get it. They will have years and years and years of doing recruitment in a certain way. So it is new. But it's really important. It's important that these biases are removed as much as we possibly can, and actually people are being assessed on what truly they can bring to the job.
No, no, that's true. That's true. And I suppose like we were saying before, it all starts at the front door with
Yeah,
our websites and with that process and how we provide options or reasonable adjustments at the front door. And I know obviously we work together, which is we're very proud of that.
yeah,
And one of the things that we work together on is the providing that options or that reasonable adjustments through the Recite Me toolbar on your websites.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I know I've got asked for some data there. I didn't realize it was as much as this, but over 2,000 people last month used the toolbar to change their experience looking for a job on your site. That just shows you how many people don't view a website normally,
Yeah,
if you see
yeah,
they need that accommodation, which then 2,000 people, sure enough, into the interview process, they will need some sort of different path, if you like, to
yeah,
the norm.
yeah. I think it's two things. I think one, people are becoming much more aware about around the adjustments they need, but also there is an efficiency thing as well, isn't there?
Hmm.
People might be listening rather than actually sitting and looking at a screen, so they could use the dictation. I mean, it isn't necessarily because you have a neurodiversity or something like that. Actually, it's just time effective for you as well. And without that, without the choice, you
Hmm.
know,
Choice, yeah.
it's just not there, is it? And you do, and what I realized from the stats from the toolbar is we're seeing people view more pages as a result. They're staying
Yeah.
on the website longer and they're looking at more things. So, and that's what having a website's all about. It's about your traffic and it's about the time spent onto pages, the number of pages people look at. So if we're increasing that because we're making it more accessible for people, why wouldn't you want that?
Why wouldn't you want to do it? I know I think it's down to choice. I think I was going to ask you for some practical steps that people could take, but I think I take the number one of that's going to be is choice and communication.
Yeah, and don't assume. Don't assume at all. There was a great story about a we have subsequently placed her actually as well, but when she applied to a certain job, she put on her application that she's profoundly deaf, and automatically, and to be fair to the talent team or whoever was dealing with her, they went straight into, do you need an interpreter? Da, 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 da. And she said, no, I just need a room with good natural light and for the interviewer to not cover their
Be able to
mouth.
see
I
it.
lip
Yeah.
read, and that's great. But the assumption instantly, because somebody says they're deaf, is that you jump to that. Now, to be fair to the hunting, they were right to offer
Of
that as an
course.
option. That there's all good. But sometimes that isn't the case. We've got a chap who works with us who has only got 20% hearing in one ear, and his previous employer never knew. He never told them,
Never
and they
said
never
anything.
knew because he lip reads, he knows how to adjust. But it was interesting when he then came to work for us. And even things like our office environment, we've pretty much kitted out all of our offices, UK, and we're doing it globally at the moment as well, to be, better sound, better acoustics for everyone, and, the right headsets, because everybody's doing video calls now. It's very
Cool.
different.
Have to be set up correctly, don't we?
Yeah. And actually, perhaps some people might go, crikey, only 20% hearing in one ear. Well, they can't possibly do the job. He does the job of a recruiter and he does it well. It doesn't hold him back at all. And it's going back to he's spent years of figuring out how to live in a hearing world, even though he doesn't hear.
Yeah.
And it's, the barriers are only ours, they're not his.
Very precisely. And I think it's inclusive. We've touched the statistics out there again about inclusive world helps everyone, doesn't it? It's not doesn't
Yeah,
help just
just
it
there.
has just them, if you like. And then we talk about British Sign Language. We were lucky enough here at Recite Me through Accessibility to Me. It's like an awareness week that we put on of our clients. We brought in Sign Solutions, which is our partner for BSL, which is available on the toolbar.
Mm-hmm.
And we all had like a lunch and learn around BSL and understanding about lighting, how hyper important lighting is to be able to lip read correctly or not covering your mouth. So sometimes I can be flamboyant when I'm talking with my hands, but try not to cover your mouth. Obvious ones of don't shout at people, or it's not rude just to tap someone on the shoulder to get their attention. So it was great to have them come in and for us to understand as an organization, another audience that we want to help with our solutions, but the lighting was the biggest one. And once again, that was back to asking questions, framing questions in the right way where people would rather be asked than ignored, if that makes
Exactly.
sense.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
think that's the most important thing around that. And then
Yeah,
another
nothing
one,
about us without us.
yeah, and then having that diverse culture or inclusive mindset in an organization that should only be the right thing to do. Well, we know that 62% of employees would just reject a job offer if an organization isn't seen to be doing the what should be the norm now.
Mm.
But you probably know better than me that organizations you know, aren't moving forward with their inclusive models where they should be.
Mm. Yeah, and I think, we so when we moved our London head office, our facilities team and everything, obviously they came to my team to say, oh, what do you think in regards to the accessibility of the office and the layout and everything? And I was like, look, it's great that you're coming to me and the team,
Mm,
like, but what about all of these employees in the business who have all of these, either needs or disabilities or whatever? Have you asked them?
um,
Oh, well, no, I've come to you because you're inclusion. Okay, good start. Yeah, fine. But actually, what about the people who live and breathe this? I was fascinated by so many things in regards to not having pictures on the walls at certain heights, or what they called fire hydrants,
yeah,
fire extinguishers at certain levels, because blind people use walls and where your barriers are, and often they can walk into them. Where you've got a change in flooring from this to carpet, make sure there's no lip. I mean, all of these things that wouldn't occur to me. And it's that pattern,
no,
that sliding doors. I mean, it was. I mean, our office in the Strand, as a result, is fabulous. But it,
yes,
it it was so educational for all of us. Even our facilities project manager, who was leading it, he went, "I thought I was pretty good at accessibility, but I've just learned so much more." And that's because it's the people who it really affects that are
yeah.
involved. Because
It's
you
having
can't.
that yeah, human element, isn't it, of asking the questions and understanding exactly what someone needs. I think we use assumptions. I've just seen the word assumption or assume in the chat there. Something we can't do. We need, and it can't just be the head of inclusion like your good self. It needs to come from people. We can empower it and we can drive the change, but that change needs to come from people who need it. For
Because
sure.
one deaf person will need something different to a second deaf person,
Yeah.
and it's the sooner we kind of get really comfortable with that, and really comfortable with not knowing the answer, I think the better we will all be, because we're just,
Yeah.
I mean, Brits, I don't know if this is outside of the UK or who's on the call, but Brits by nature, we're a bit like, oh gosh, can't possibly not know. And it's like, actually, why
Yeah.
not? How do you learn unless you're honest about what you don't know?
Yeah, like true. With the toolbar, we have some presets which are being built through sort of focus groups and things, but we allow people to change the colors to
Yeah,
exactly what
yeah,
they want. For instance, dyslexia, Ross, our founder,
mm,
would like a yellow background, black
yeah,
text, but that doesn't do anything for me with
no,
dyslexia. I'm just like, I don't get that. But a ruler would be great. Just
yeah,
something
yeah,
so because when you read, I skip lines and words and all sorts. So just a ruler and slowing things down.
yeah.
But that's still an adjustment. That's still something that I need to be able. If I get, I don't know, car insurance or house insurance documents, or you're moving, legal stuff, that's always really hard to digest. Having sort of line spacing to be bigger, a ruler, taking your time, that massively helps. Um, but that'll be completely different to someone else who needs different type of support for sure. And hopefully that's why PageGroup and ourselves try and use technology as best we can to help people. But that support needs to come from the people who need it, and then we take that on board massively.
Yeah, and it's got to be really user friendly. I know that sounds really daft. There was obviously it was nothing to do with any of the websites that Recite Me are on, but we had other websites that we were going on. It's like accessibility buttons right in the bottom right hand corner, and you go,
Mm.
I mean, who's that practical for? It's not.
It's too small.
And it and if you've got a screen reader, you've got to go across the whole page before you find it. I mean, so again, it goes back to somebody wasn't in that room when that was designed. Somebody
Yeah,
wasn't there to say, well, okay, for this to be really usable, then actually it needs to be one of the first things that you would come to. Yeah, they're not massive things. That's the crazy thing. These aren't huge pieces of really fancy technology or innovation. It's actually really simple. It's really
mm,
simple, and actually, you're right, it helps everybody. It doesn't just help the
yeah.
people who need it most.
And I think these sort of things that we're talking about now in the online world, they're all sort of governed by not a regulation, but guidelines. They're called accessibility content guidelines, WCAG for short.
Mm,
And you mentioned about the navigation there. So when you tab on a keyboard, if you're a sort of screen reader viewer, you have to have skip the nav, a little button. But if your website doesn't have that, you're not compliant and you're not in regulations. One little thing, or
yeah,
even a lot of people use images, text-based images to save on space or to make it fancy and things.
yeah,
If that image doesn't have an alternative text on
mm-hmm,
it, that's inaccessible. A screen reader or a blind person won't be able to articulate what that image is or even know it was there.
no,
But it might be vital to that page because
yeah,
it might actually be the job spec is an image. If some recruitment company are wanting to churn something quick and it's not text, so this is why your websites need to be built in a certain way so it can
mm,
accommodate and support as many people as possible.
yeah, exactly.
I think, right, I just looked at the time, quarter to 45 minutes. Sherry, we've been going on a while there. I hope everyone's still with us. I'm sure they are. Um, before we go, I think it'd be good to go open the questions. Is a practical step our audience could take away with them to try and be more inclusive tomorrow than they were today?
If you do nothing else, just ask a candidate, is there any support I can give you that will help you perform at your best? You start with that. There's a reason for them to tell you, and then you can go from there. And I just think you need to create that environment of openness. I make no assumptions. I keep going on about
Yeah,
assumptions. Don't I? But make
I like that line. Have you copyrighted that with the page group, or is that just a new one? Is that just yours?
I think I probably heard it from someone else, and I was just like,
Someone else?
because it's so much better than. Do you need any adjustments?
Yeah, oh God, yeah.
I mean,
It's that positive slant at the end
yeah,
is great in it. I love that.
the thing, so that you can perform at your best. It's like
Yeah,
this will
they
help
want to help
you.
me. Yeah,
This will help you. So if you tell me, then I can really do it.
yeah. Right. Thank you. So questions. I will try and do my best here. It's great to hear such a human conversation. Thank you. That's much appreciated.
Was this one about removing CVs? Because I talked about that at the beginning. Shall I?
Yeah, we did. Shall we have a little look at that one? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
So you're absolutely right. Then what do we do? Which is clearly why people use CVs, because it's a bit of a catch-all. It kind of helps people.
Helps.
If you were to remove CVs, then it would just be a case of what were the top 2 or 3 non-negotiable things you would want someone to demonstrate. Right, so it's going straight into this skills-based hiring. So actually, if it's that they need to be Excel savvy, or they need to be able to demonstrate that they can negotiate multi-million-pound contracts, I don't know, but pull out what it is they need to demonstrate and then have them demonstrate it, and they can do that in whatever form. Is that around an exercise? Is that around just a few lines saying, actually, in this job I did this, and they might end up using kind of a CV based answer. But you've got to ask what you need to know. So in your job advert or whatever, if you're saying, right, because also your job advert should only ever say essential skills. Any nice to haves are pure bias, so it should be essential skills only. So actually, but get that to be their first stage. We want to know this. Can you demonstrate how you could fulfill these 2 skills, and start there?
Yeah, I agree. I think when we do write up a CV, we start, a job specification, I should say. You start with the 2 or 3 core things that you'll definitely want someone to do. Then you just eke it out a little bit more with they could do this, they could do that.
Yeah.
But if you concentrate on top 3, put them front and center, and ask them how to examples of work, or a question, or some sort of little portal to help them. That makes total sense. How can companies create a conductive environment? How can paid recruitment companies ask a vendor companies to be more inclusive?
So we're having to do this quite a lot, because there's an expectation sometimes from clients that it's just on us, and that we will fulfill all of their diversity, quotas, expectations, inclusive hiring, all on our own. We're only half of it, right? Yes, we search the market. Yes, we assess the candidates, and yes, we produce a shortlist to you. But from there, it's the responsibility of the client, right? So then they will do the interviews or assessment or whatever it is, and they decide who they hire, right? We don't do that. And what we are doing, and what all recruiters should be doing more of, is having a discussion up front with the client to go, right, to do this process inclusively, these are a few non-negotiables, is that phrase, don't I? But these are a few things we need to do, but also this is how we expect you to run the process. So, for example, it might be that there is real consistency in who is involved in the assessment process. Is there a range of people, but a diversity coming from the client? What are the pull factors for the candidate? So we might be saying, oh, it's a company who does this, this, and this. But actually, if they want to pull in more diversity, why would diversity want to work for them? So the client needs to do their bit. And it might be that we've done an accessibility audit. We're working really hard to make sure our website is accessible, or that we're doing these things, or we have ERGs, or we have a commitment to this, or whatever. It's a partnership. So yes, as a recruiter, we do our bit, but then actually the client needs to take that on, because at the end of the day, the candidate is going to work for them, not us.
Yeah, I expect that transparency and that throughput, aren't they?
But we are working with our clients quite a lot with that, to say, actually, have you got this in place? Do you do this? How can we help you with that? Is it a training element? Do you want, I don't know, do you need some advice around specific questions to ask? We've sometimes done interviews with the client, if that helps. I mean, there's a range of things, but I'm happy to take that one further if you want to.
Oh, much appreciate. Thank you very much. I think it's the right recruitment company will have their morals and that process in place to support the end organisation of the candidate they're trying to place. I think that's fantastic. Thank you. Right, I know I said 45 minutes, so I'm conscious of time. We could probably talk on and on here. What we will do is we will, after this conversation, hopefully later on in the week, we'll send out this recording to everyone that signed up. Michael Page, or PageGroup, I should say, and Recite Me do have a joint recruitment inclusive guide that we can share with everyone. And also within an email, if people want to then go and check to make sure their website or their recruitment processes are live or accessible from a build perspective, you can go onto the Recite Me website and pop in your domain, and we'll scan your website and see how well or not well, or what work you need to do to make your website more accessible. And a lot of things you can do in-house yourselves, from alt text to using the right H1s, H2s, loads of little easy steps that teams can do to check your website. So please go and do that and try and start the journey yourself. And then I think, like we said before, what can be done to make you more accessible and inclusive tomorrow than you are today isn't as hard as you are. But thank you very much, Sherry, for your support and the conversations. Communication and no assumptions.
That's it. And what can we do to support you so that you can be at your best? The
best. Yeah, positive angle. I like that. I appreciate it. Thank you. I hope everyone's enjoyed it. Take care, everyone. And take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.